100 years old. When you're 100, let's see if everything on you opens and closes. Hey, Salty, I think I'm getting it.
The 1990s were packed with unforgettable television. We're talking about the golden age of must-see TV, TGIF family sitcoms, teen dramas that defined a generation, and quirky shows that somehow pulled in millions of viewers before streaming was even a thing. But here's the twist. Not every hit show from the 90s survived in our collective memory. Some of the biggest ratings winners of that decade have practically vanished from pop culture. Think about it. Everyone still talks about Friends, Seinfeld, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and The X-Files. But what about the other shows you used to watch religiously every week? The ones that pulled in massive audiences, won awards, and sparked conversations, only to quietly fade away, never quite keeping their place in the nostalgia spotlight. Today we're dusting off those VHS tapes, flipping through those old TV guides, and counting down 10 forgotten TV shows from the 90s that were huge hits. These weren't just cult favorites, they were mainstream successes, the kind of shows everyone seemed to be watching at the time. So grab a snack and let's rewind to a few programs you may not have thought about in years. Starting at number 10, Picket Fences. Back in the early 90s, CBS introduced Picket Fences, a small-town drama created by David E. Kelley, the same guy behind Ally McBeal and The Practice. Set in the fictional town of Rome, Wisconsin, the show was part quirky comedy, part intense courtroom drama, and part social commentary. It tackled issues like abortion, racism, and same-sex marriage at a time when network TV usually played it safe. Critics loved it. Picket Fences won multiple Emmys, including Outstanding Drama Series, twice. It starred Tom Skerritt as the town sheriff and Kathy Baker as his wife, and it wasn't afraid to get weird. One week you'd have a murder mystery, the next you'd see quirky town politics, and then suddenly the show would throw in surreal, almost whimsical subplots.
It's my hand in there, holding his brain to one side while somebody else cuts it. Oh.
At the time, it was a water cooler show, but here's the thing. It didn't have the syndication legs of a Law & Order, and it never really made the leap to streaming. Unless you were a hardcore 90s TV buff, Picket Fences just slipped away. Still, for a few years in the 90s, it was one of the most daring dramas on television. Next at number 9, Step by Step. If you grew up in the 90s, you probably remember TGIF, ABC's family-friendly Friday night sitcom block, and one of its staples was Step by Step. The show starred Patrick Duffy and Suzanne Summers as newlyweds blending their two families Brady Bunch style. With 6 kids from 2 different households, plus a goofy nephew named Cody living in a van out back, it had all the sitcom chaos you could ever want.
There, she squirted ketchup all over me. Oh, lighten up. It was an accident. If I wanted to get all over you, I'd have done this. Stop it, you little criminal!
Step by Step wasn't groundbreaking, but it was comfort TV at its finest. For kids, it was relatable, sibling rivalries, crushes, and everyday family drama. For parents, it was a modern twist on a familiar formula, and it worked. The show ran for 7 seasons, pulling in millions of viewers each week. So why is it forgotten? Well, unlike Full House or Boy Meets World, Step by Step didn't stick around in reruns as much. It wasn't packaged into that nostalgia machine, and when it finally hit streaming, the buzz just wasn't the same. But make no mistake, in the 90s this was a huge hit, the kind of show you didn't realize you'd miss until it was gone. Number 8, Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. Western dramas weren't exactly trendy in the 90s, but CBS struck gold with Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. Starring Jane Seymour as Dr. Michaela Quinn, a physician who moves to Colorado Springs in the 1860s, the show combined frontier adventure with medical drama and heartfelt family storytelling. It was wholesome, it was emotional, and it was perfect for Saturday night viewing. Families tuned in religiously. The show regularly pulled in around 20 million viewers, and Jane Seymour became a household name.
Mom! Sally! How'd you do, Ma?
She's done great. I'm proud.
I think you really got through to him.
Tell him what the judge would do, though.
He'll make the right decision, I'm sure of it.
But as the 2000s rolled around, Dr. Quinn started to vanish. Westerns weren't hot, the show never really found a big afterlife in syndication, and younger audiences just weren't seeking it out. Streaming platforms have barely touched it, and for a series that ran 6 seasons plus a couple of TV movies, that's surprising. Still, for a while there, Dr. Quinn was one of the biggest dramas on television. It reminded viewers of old-fashioned family TV, something networks thought was disappearing, only to find out millions of people were craving it. At number 7 is the largely forgotten early edition. What would you do if tomorrow's newspaper landed on your doorstep today? That was the brilliant premise of CBS's early edition. Starring a young Kyle Chandler long before Friday Night Lights, the series followed Gary Hobson, a man who mysteriously receives tomorrow's Chicago Sun-Times and tries to prevent the disasters he reads about. Each episode was a mix of suspense, drama, and morality tale. Should Gary intervene? How much could he change? Could one man really alter fate? It was an inventive concept and audiences loved it. The show had a loyal fan base and ran for 4 solid seasons. But here's the catch. Early edition never got the syndication push that other 90s shows enjoyed. Without constant reruns, it faded from pop culture memory. And while its premise feels ripe for a streaming reboot, the original series is hard to find. Back in the 90s though, Early Edition was one of those shows you'd bring up at school or work the next day. Everyone loved speculating about what they'd do if they got tomorrow's news today. Number 6, Suddenly Susan. NBC's must-see TV lineup of the 90s was legendary. Friends, Seinfeld, ER. But right alongside them was Suddenly Susan, starring Brooke Shields as a magazine writer starting over after leaving her fiancé at the altar. The show had a great ensemble cast, including Kathy Griffin and Judd Nelson, and it fit the formula perfectly. Workplace comedy with a dash of romance and snark.
Jack Richmond, this is Tony, Bridge Tricks with Hicks.
For a while, Suddenly Susan was everywhere, got huge ratings, was promoted heavily, and felt like the next big thing. But as quickly as it rose, it faded. Behind-the-scenes turmoil, changes in the cast, and the death of co-star David Strickland hit the show hard. By the early 2000s, it had vanished from the cultural radar. Looking back now, it's strange how big Suddenly Susan was, and how little it gets mentioned now. It was a prime example of how the right star, the right network, and the right time could make a show huge even if it didn't have staying power. Number 5, Silk Stockings. If you had cable in the 90s, you probably stumbled across Silk Stockings on USA Network. This stylish cop drama followed 2 detectives solving murders in Palm Beach, Florida. Think bright colors, glamorous suspects, and a hint of soap opera melodrama mixed with crime procedural. At its peak, Silk Stockings was USA's top-rated original series, running for 8 seasons and more than 170 episodes. It proved that cable channels could compete with the big networks when it came to original programming. But unlike Law & Order or NYPD Blue, Silk Stockings didn't leave a cultural footprint. It didn't spawn spin-offs, it wasn't rerun endlessly, and it never had that iconic moment everyone remembers.
Paige, Scott Finn was murdered last night.
What? How?
In his room with the surfway, somebody put 2 slugs into his chest.
Still, for almost a decade, it was a hit. The kind of show you'd put on late at night and get hooked into, even if you only planned to watch 5 minutes. Number 4, Mad About You. Paul Reiser and Helen Hunt starred in Mad About You, a sitcom about married life in New York City. Unlike the wacky antics of Friends or Seinfeld, this show went for a more grounded, slice-of-life tone. It was funny, heartfelt, and surprisingly emotional. Critics loved it, and audiences did too. The show won multiple Emmys, including a Best Actress win for Helen Hunt, who later transitioned into movie stardom.
What's going on is that we're married 5 months and the sexual part is over. See, I thought you understood that. I'm sorry.
But here's the thing. While Mad About You was huge in the 90s, it didn't stay in the conversation. It didn't rerun as much as its NBC neighbors, and it lacked the quotable catchphrases that helped shows like Friends live forever. Even a brief revival in 2019 barely made a ripple. Back in the day though, this was appointment television. Millions of viewers tuned in each week to see Paul and Jamie Buckman navigate the ups and downs of marriage with humor and heart. Number 3, The Pretender. On NBC's Saturday nights, a show called The Pretender quietly built a dedicated audience. It followed Jared, a genius raised in a secret facility who could assume any identity, doctor, lawyer, pilot, while on the run from the shady organization that created him. It was part thriller, part sci-fi, and part character drama, and it was unlike anything else on TV at the time. Fans loved the mystery and the identity of the week format.
House stands on 17. 22. House wins.
See? I'm a total jinx.
The show ran for 4 seasons, spawned 2 TV movies, and had a loyal cult following. But with the 2000s rolling in, the network shifted focus, and The Pretender never became a lasting franchise. These days, it's one of those shows people vaguely remember, but rarely talk about, despite being a solid ratings hit at the time. Number 2, Caroline in the City. Leah Thompson, fresh off Back to the Future fame, starred in this NBC sitcom as Caroline Duffy, a cartoonist navigating life and love in New York City. With a quirky supporting cast and crossover appearances from Friends characters, the show had all the makings of a hit.
It's 100 years old. When you're 100, let's see if everything on you opens and closes.
Hey, Salty, I think I'm getting it.
And for a while it was. Caroline in the City even won an Emmy and often ranked high in the ratings. But here's the thing, when people talk about 90s sitcoms, Caroline almost never comes up. It was overshadowed by juggernauts like Friends, Frasier, and Will and Grace. It also didn't find a strong second life in syndication. Still, in the mid-90s, Caroline was a primetime star, and millions of viewers were tuning in to see her latest misadventure. And last but not least, rounding us off at number 1, Party of Five. Starring Nev Campbell, Matthew Fox, Scott Wolf, and Jennifer Love Hewitt, this Fox drama followed the Salinger siblings as they tried to hold their family together after their parents were killed in a car accident. The show was raw, emotional, and a critical darling. It won a Golden Globe for Best Drama and launched multiple big careers. Teens and young adults connected deeply with its themes of responsibility, loss, and growing up too fast.
Yeah, let's see here. Here, $6.94. That's how tall you were when you were 3 months old, huh?
And yet it doesn't get the same nostalgic love as Dawson's Creek or Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Maybe it was too heavy compared to the later teen shows that followed, or maybe it just didn't get the reruns needed to stay alive in pop culture memory. Still, for 6 seasons in the 90s, Party of Five was one of the defining dramas on TV. So there you have it, 10 TV shows from the 90s that were once huge hits, but have since slipped into the background of our collective memory. From family sitcoms to frontier dramas, from quirky comedies to mysterious thrillers, these shows remind us that even the biggest hits aren't guaranteed a spot in the Nostalgia Hall of Fame. What's fascinating is how quickly pop culture forgets. Millions tuned in every week. These shows won awards, and for a time they dominated the conversation. But today, they're little more than trivia questions, unless you were there. The 90s gave us more television than we could possibly remember, and sometimes the forgotten shows are just as interesting as the ones we never stopped talking about. Now it's your turn. Which of these shows did you watch back in the day? Which ones do you think deserve a comeback, or at least a spot on streaming so new audiences can discover them? Drop your memories in the comments, hit like if this video made you nostalgic, and don't forget to subscribe for more trips down TV memory lane.